Welcome to the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast, where you learn the best doubles strategies to improve your game and win more matches. I'm your host, Will Bocek. This podcast, my website, and my weekly newsletter all focus on the goal of better understanding the sport of doubles and helping players like you improve faster through actionable advice that you can use in your very next match. My goal is to provide the best doubles strategy resources in the world. And to do that, I study, analyze, and work with players at every level of the game, all the way up to the ATP and WTA tours. If you enjoy this podcast, I've created doubles strategy products that go even deeper if you want to take your doubles knowledge to the next level. At the end of this episode, I'll explain more about them, or if you want to learn more now, go to thetennistribe.com/products. Here's today's episode. Today, you're going to hear another conversation from the Australian Open where I talk about doubles. I sit down with Mark Petchey here on the middle Sunday of the Australian Open. And if you're not familiar with Mark, he is a TV commentator for Tennis Channel, among other major networks. And he also is a former player. He actually reached top 100 in singles and nearly cracked the top 100 in doubles as well. And Mark recently posted on Twitter a little bit of a controversial tweet where he ranked men's doubles, women's doubles, mixed doubles, and then legends doubles, where they have some former tour players play at these Grand Slam events. And he actually ranked ATP men's doubles at the bottom below legends doubles. And honestly, after this conversation, I'm not sure he believes that, but he was kind of taking a jab at ATP doubles, and he talks about why he did that in this conversation. So we discuss rule changes, we discuss what he'd like to see on the ATP doubles tour, and I actually argue with him a bit because I don't know if I necessarily see eye to eye with Mark, and we talk about that, and that's one of the things that I really love about these conversations is that we can get to people who don't necessarily agree on a specific topic like this or agree in this case on what changes we need to see going forward. But we can sit down and kind of have a civil discussion about it, maybe try to convince each other and pull each other to our side a little bit, and really understand kind of the root of the problem and what changes doubles needs to become more popular and to really grow in the sport of tennis. So we talk about F1 a little bit and how they've done a really nice job. We talk about the shot clock product changes. We talk about what makes a tennis star, whether it's singles or marketing. We do discuss marketing and promotion and social media a bit and a lot more. So this is a really fun kind of conversation / debate that if you're passionate about professional doubles, if you're an ATP doubles player or even a coach or a WTA doubles player, I think you're really going to enjoy this and maybe learn a little bit as well. So without further delay, enjoy this conversation between me and Mark Petchey. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I am back in Melbourne here. We're on the 4th floor of Rod Laver overlooking the crowd on this Sunday afternoon. And I'm here with Mark Petchey. Mark, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you, and thanks for all the good work you do with tennis and promoting it. We need all that we can get.
Yeah, I'm doing my best here. But I saw some of your Twitter comments recently on doubles.
Yep.
And this is a topic, and these are some of my favorite conversations to have. Because doubles, I feel like, is, in my opinion,
essential.
It's essential. I think it's under-marketed. I think it's underutilized on the tours. And I also recognize that it's a very complex situation with a lot of history and a lot of politics, most of which I don't really fully understand because I haven't been around this as long as you and a lot of other people. So I love these conversations. But recently, I want to start with your tweet recently where you ranked ATP doubles, WTA doubles, mixed doubles, and invitational doubles.
I pulled the pin out.
And you put ATP doubles below invitational doubles,
yeah.
4th. So talk about that, why you did it, and what your opinion is on ATP doubles.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I kind of tongue-in-cheek did it below invitational, to be honest, but I knew it would get a bit more traction. I mean, that I wanted to start a conversation about what I believe, and let's get a starting point. I believe that doubles is a huge part of the ecosystem of tennis that is at the moment not being fully utilized, or not being fully sort of understood, and not being fully appreciated. So I think for all the doubles guys out there that probably saw that tweet and got triggered, like, you got to listen to what I'm saying. I think that you are an essential part of the tour, and I would love to see doubles become much more prominent in a way that we can really sort of celebrate it and understand it for the speciality that it is. And it is a speciality. There's no question about it. It is, as you say, Will, a very complex situation at times. But my starting point with men's doubles is that I believe that we've got to be really careful that we're doing things that maybe don't make a difference. Like, Queens last year, we suddenly, 15 seconds between points, and you've got guys both at the net trying to run back. I don't believe that sells the sport better. I think it kind of makes it almost comedy. And I don't think it helps the doubles guys, because I understand that their strategy. I do feel that we need to try and keep doubles as close as we can to an hour, because I want to see it on center courts more. And if you have a problem, if you have what we have at the moment, which is 2 normal sets with no ad and then a long match tiebreaker, I've commentated on matches that have gone way past the 2-hour mark. If you're a tournament director, you cannot schedule that match closer than 3 hours before the men's singles final. That's not helpful. It's not helpful to anyone. It's not helpful to the fans, because they have to come 3 hours potentially before a men's singles final. Then if the match does last only an hour, they've got 2 hours to kind of hang around and wait again. They're not going to come for that match. So how do we be able to condense doubles to a point where you can put it as close to a final at any tournament as you can, knowing that it's going to finish within that time frame? I think that's one of the conversations, and we got closer to it with a little bit of a speeding up, that we need to try and get to, because that is going to magnify and amplify doubles, because it's closer to the men's singles final or the women's singles final. So therefore, it's going to get a bigger crowd. It's going to look better. Anytime you play in an empty stadium, it looks terrible. So the more that we could do that and know that we're going to finish these matches, that's a conversation I'd love to have. But my biggest issue with men's doubles is that you've got fantastic servers trying to serve at 200 Ks and doing so with a guy standing on top of the net, just picking the ball off. And I just think, when you've got a product that is average rally length 1, because guys serve so well, and again, listen to the words that I'm saying, it is incredibly difficult to return a 200K plus serve accurately to the feet of somebody when you've got somebody else standing on the net, covering all the angles on the court, doing the geometry lesson that I know all the guys are taught, and then creating unbelievable rallies often enough to engage the fan. And that, for me, is actually the number one paramount conversation I would like to have in terms of making the product more attractive. In other sports, they change the 3-point line. F1 changes its rules every day. I'm very close to F1. 2026 rule changes are going to be a huge difference for these teams in terms of you've got cricket, you've got power plays, you've got different things that you can do. And sometimes in hindsight, like in soccer, when you eventually couldn't pass it back to the keeper and they could just pick it up, everyone goes, well, why the hell didn't we do this 20 years ago? There are stuff that we can do in doubles that I believe can make the product better. And that's really the conversation that I was trying to get going with the tweet that I made.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
So it sounds
That's why Twitter, you can't have a proper conversation.
That's right. Yeah. There was a lot of comments on your tweet.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff. There's no nuance there because you've only got 100 and whatever characters. So it sounds like you are a fan, and I spoke earlier with Calvin Benton, who he said he knows you well.
He does.
It seems like he has a different approach to you. So he believes there's no product issue. It's more of a marketing thing. It sounds like you believe it's more of a product issue. We need to make rule changes to make the product more exciting. What do you say to someone like Calvin? I just want to
understand, what does Calvin say in terms of a product changes? What does he mean by that?
So changing, it sounds like he agrees the shot clock is a waste of time changing that. I agree with that too. But
so do I.
The service partner behind the service line, he wasn't a fan of that. I'm not either personally, but I'm here to interview you. I'm not here to debate you.
No. You can debate me. That's what I want to do. I want to,
So he mentioned basically that the products and the players' stories aren't told enough and it's under-marketed. So one thing I've talked about a lot over the past few years is if you go to, and maybe I should do this later today, go to the Australian Open Instagram page or Twitter page and just go through their last 100 posts. How many of them are about doubles? It's going to be less than 5.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's a very easy way for the tours to, with systems they already have in place, promote a product that they have on the court. If you walk around the grounds, about half the matches, I guess over half the matches are doubles with mixed as well. Yet it gets less than 5% of the marketing efforts. I'm not saying it should be 50-50, but can we do 10%?
Yeah, listen, I do think that there's lots of threads in this. Obviously, if you're going to keep it, obsolete and you're going to keep it sort of packed away, you're not going to create interest. You're not going to get eyeballs on it. You're only going to keep the niche kind of fan who wants to come and watch it anyway. So listen, I think all the tournaments that, if you don't have doubles, you've got a very bland product and a very empty ground. Look, imagine this place without doubles in the second week. It would be horrific. So, my starting point isn't let's get rid of doubles like a lot of people, want to save money and they want to get rid of jobs. That's not what I want. But I would disagree in terms of, I would agree that there should be a collective effort from the tours, the slams, and the players that play doubles to try and have a doubles only potential channel, which they can own, they can run themselves. The players can be proactively engaged in that. I believe there was an option they were trying to get that happen. It got blocked from what I gather.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. So I've heard. So I would again say that should be opened up to conversation again, and they should be allowed to be able to try and promote their own content. Yes, there should be some sort of filter in terms of whatever copyrights and what you can and can't put on it. But if the players are willing to engage in that kind of social media activity, I do believe that they should be allowed to do that. That's my personal standpoint on that. So I do feel as though that's a bit of an own goal if they haven't been allowed to do that. I hope maybe there's a way that they could set up their own channel and therefore maybe they could do their own thing. But again, you get that crossover with copyright rules. What footage can you use and not use? And I appreciate, again, like everything in world, it's complicated and it's not straightforward. So I do think that would help. I don't think it would be the magic elixir. I do think that when you come to somewhere like Australia, you can see how engaged the fans are in doubles. There's packed crowds every single sort of time that they step out there. Mm-hmm. But week in, week out, I would argue that the product itself is a little dry because I don't believe there's enough rallies that happen that are super exciting. When they do develop, they are off the charts great. But I just don't believe that in the case of an hour and a half's worth of tennis in men's doubles, with the way that the guys serve, with the way that they understand the angles on the court, there is enough great action for me personally that's going to engage a new generation of fan. If you like tennis already, you'll watch it. But what we've got to do is look to the future. And that's why one of my suggestions is taking the guy off the net, because when you serve at that speed, you have much more space, therefore, to hit the ball. In cricket, with a power play, you bring the players in, you have to have 7 inside the circle. So it gives the batter for 5 overs an opportunity to smash the ball over the top because there's not so many outfielders protecting it. So you don't just have 1 or 2 runs every time because there's no benefit for them to going aerial. So they have to keep the ball on the ground if you don't have a power play. They brought the power play in because the game wasn't as attractive. It's made the game more attractive. So, you have a ball in one-day cricket that does not move as much. It doesn't swing. It favors the batter because there's a ton of runs and people love runs. They don't want to see 10 wickets tumbling and everyone just batting and straight batting it because it's not entertainment. I do think that tennis players and the people that are already so entrenched in the environment and in the sport need to just take a step back and go, we can change this product and make it better. We don't need to be set on in our stall and saying, no, that's our stake in the ground. If we change it, it means that we weren't right. It's like, you can make the sport better. And if you can make the sport better, we should.
So if you got to change one thing, you can either change you wanted to move the net post to
onto the doubles line, not onto the singles line, obviously, but onto the doubles
for singles, right?
No, on the doubles line. So tennis net started in the history of the sport back in the 19th century. Mm-hmm. The singles sticks were on the singles line. They got wider, and obviously has made it harder to pass. So if I'm Medvedev on the singles court, and again, this goes a crossover to the sport in general and trying to create great entertainment. Why, if you're Daniel Medvedev and you return from 80 meters behind the baseline, do you not absolutely ask for a singles net? Because you are basically getting blocked from being able to hit it round the net from when you get served out wide. I will never understand it. It's like we are making it harder for the players to entertain the fans by hitting it. So that is one of my suggestions in doubles, is that if you put the doubles nets on the doubles tram line, not on the singles or where the single sticks are, on the doubles, as a net player, if your partner's volleyed wide, you have to go even further over to guard against the shot that comes around the net. Mm-hmm. So it would make all I'm trying to do on the doubles court, with going back behind the service line when your partner's serving and potentially moving the nets, is create space for shots to happen. At the moment, the guys are so good. Yeah. So good at understanding the geometry of the court that it makes it so difficult to hit a winner or to get past them. And so that's the whole essence of my argument, is can we create space on a doubles court where more exciting things can happen and more winners can happen that are not just based on big serve, big volley.
What about getting rid of the first serve?
I think it's a conversation that I would have. I mean, I'm loath, even though people think that I'm sort of like anti everything, I'm not. I'm loath to change it to that degree where you're basically kicking in a serve at 150 Ks, 160 Ks, 90 miles an hour to 100, and really handing sole advantage to the returner, and potentially having a game where you get tight and you just miss one serve after another. And it's like, well, that's not great entertainment either.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of, I understand, and I'm, even Calvin came up to me and he said the doubles he watched the other day, you would have enjoyed it because there were 4 non-big servers out there, right. Loads of rallies. Yeah, there's an argument in my head that would go to one, but I'm also conscious of the fact that I don't want to blow the product up completely, where you've suddenly got games where people are serving 2 doubles, and that's going to be horrific. So I'm a little bit out on that one. I don't know how the doubles guys would feel about that one. It just feels like we could get into a stage which sounds good because you've got to dial down the power, but you end up serving, there's so many non-points that people in the crowd and TV are going, oh, this isn't fun either.
Yeah. I'm not sure the double fault rate on tour. I think it's less than 5%.
Yeah.
So it'd be maybe 1 in 20 points.
Yeah.
Where you'd get that fault. But some of them may dial the serve up if they only had one serve too. So
that's why
that would be kind of a mind game, but I know the win rate, it's around 50%.
Yeah.
So the return team's winning 50%. So a lot more breaks of serve, and then obviously you're not redirecting a 200K serve. Maybe it's 160 or whatever.
And that's what, and my attitude to, and my conversation as this goes out to the players is, why don't you go to the tour and say in Estoril at a 250 or somewhere else, we're going to trial this. We're going to trial a one serve. Mm-hmm. We want to trial it. We want to see what this product's like. And for that week, do you know what? I'm going to watch, because I'm actually going to put eyeballs on, because the rules have changed, and I'm going to go and watch that tournament for the doubles, because I'm going to go, I want to see how this pans out. Is it better? Is it worse? We've got so many events in the game of tennis, and we shouldn't be so scared to trial things that may or may not work. I'm not saying that my ideas are definitely going to work, but if we never trial them, we'll never know. And therefore, when we've got all these events along with the challenges, why not trial them and go, do you know what? That actually did work. And I actually think one serve is actually better for us. It's far more entertaining. Look at all the content that we've generated for Insta on the players' profiles and everything else. That's great. Mm-hmm. But how do we know? You're sitting there telling me a number, and it may well be that that's what transpires. It may be that it doesn't, but we've got to trial this thing. We've got to watch it. We've got to see what happens. And people shouldn't be so stuck in their ways saying, well, oh, it's my ranking, it's this. It's like, listen, this sport needs to survive. Your art needs to survive. There is a push, that they're very well aware of, that maybe they want to get rid of it. You trial it, see what happens. And I bet you out of this, even if it's just one thing that makes the product better, then that's a win. Even if 4 or 5 of the things are complete, absolute, hopeless in reality, if the one thing changes it and makes it a better product for people to watch, then it's a win.
I felt encouraged last year by some of the trials. I don't know.
Yeah.
You've obviously been in this a lot longer than me, but it seemed like last year they experimented a bit more than they had in previous years. Yeah. They did the trial in Madrid with the free fan movement, the way the players entered the tournament, the shot clocks, the shorter changeovers. I didn't agree with all of it.
No.
I agree the shot clock's a terrible idea, but people asked me about it, and I said, I'm just glad they're trying stuff.
Yes.
And they did the mixed at Indian Wells, which was an invitational tournament that
I'd love to see mixed at the Masters Thousands.
Yeah, they absolutely should do that. So I'm totally on board with you there. Like, I don't even care if I agree with all the changes. Just start experimenting because stuff does
and also,
have to change.
like the shot clock and all of that was a bad idea. Okay, but now we know it was a bad idea, so let's kind of figure it out. Like, what are we going to do? Like, tennis is always like one size fits all. Same with the shot clock and singles. It's like guys are taking longer. It's made matches longer. It doesn't fit the purpose. So why can we not, like baseball went to 2 shot clocks in the States? Why can we not have one for a certain rally length and one for another rally length? And actually just kind of understand that in the sport, there should be room for nuance and for unseen consequences. And I agree with you. Like, I fiddling around with the entries and all of this stuff, it is a star-driven sport, Will. Like, it will never not be the case. If Alcaraz turns up in Madrid to play doubles, how do we get him on the court? My one argument has been, like, we took 2 sets out of the doubles at Wimbledon. I don't necessarily agree with that because I don't think you're really fixing the problem. You're not going to get Sinner and Alcaraz and Novak to play doubles, whether you play 2 or 5, whether you play best of 3 or best of 5, you're not going to do it. So actually, what are you doing? For the fan that loves doubles, they want to watch best of 5 because actually it's more tennis. It's more bang for their buck. So actually just taking away sets doesn't really help anybody at all. It's not really fixing the underlying thing. My argument on the main tour when it's best of 3 is, could we get to a stage where, and again, this is something that I'm sure no one's going to agree with, but there is a part of me in doubles that's going, why don't we just do a time? Why don't we do an hour? Because that's one of the big problems that we have. Is like, we don't know how long a match is going to last. Why don't we do an hour? And it is first through the line. Who is ever winning at that stage wins the match. And again, I probably doubt it because they're making too much money, but would Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic think, do you know what? Instead of hitting balls on my day off at these Masters Thousands that are now 12 days, I could go and play doubles and I know it's an hour and that's it.
Yeah.
Would that entice them? My bet is no. But maybe.
Yeah.
So if it's a maybe, why don't we try it?
So I think I told you I'm going to interview you, but I am going to argue a little bit.
Good.
So when we're talking about bringing in like Alcaraz, Sinner, whoever to play doubles, that to me, that's like a short-term solution to help promote doubles, because I think that one of the problems that we're running into is the marketing and the storytelling of the doubles players. And the reason Coco Gauff, Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, whoever, they're such big tennis stars, and I don't like to call them single stars, even though they play singles. It's because they have all of these marketing dollars behind them, and their stories are being told. And I'm not saying that Mate Pavic is going to be as big as Carlos Alcaraz or something like that, but he can certainly be a bigger name than he is now. Maybe 10% of what Carlos Alcaraz is or whatever, if those stories are told a bit more. Because when I walk around the grounds, and especially at Indian Wells and a tournament like this, I'll hear people saying, Coco's playing doubles, like, let's go watch. And I hear people say, I like watching Coco play doubles more than singles. They're a Coco fan. They're not a singles fan, right? So they're a fan.
But you kind of, in a certain way, you're making my point. It's a style-driven sport, and the style-driven, whether we like it or not, Will, comes from singles.
But does it come from the singles? Or
it doesn't come from the marketing. It comes from singles.
Okay.
Singles is seen.
That's where we disagree.
Yeah, which is fine. I came here to have a conversation. I'm not saying that I'm right and wrong, but if you're going to ask me, the optics in tennis is always going to come from singles. Everyone sees singles as the premier version of the game. If you excel in that, you are the best at it. Whether we like it or not, that's kind of the optics. And even back in the day when Johnny Mack was ripping it up on the doubles court, Stefan Edberg was ripping it up on the doubles. They didn't get it from doubles. They got it from their singles exploits, how good they were in that regard. And I think that maybe if that is an issue for the doubles guys, they need to unfortunately accept it. And if the timed hour could get Alcaraz and Sinner to play, it would help them because you are going to get more eyeballs on the product that they play. Again, I go back to it's not undermining these guys' skill level and their exploits and their achievements. It is just you've got to deal with reality. And I'm not saying that if you didn't market them more and you didn't push it, it wouldn't be better. But I don't think you're ever going to elevate them to the level that the singles guys get from a marketing point of view. Through it's not even through their own marketing; it's through their achievements on a tennis court.
Okay, so I know you got to run here. I guess my last comment on that would be, and this is where we kind of go back and forth. Is like I don't think that to stick with the Pavic example, I don't think he needs to be and necessarily ever will be the same star level of an Alcaraz. But in the same way that, like, at least in the U.S., maybe 10% of people have heard of Yannick Sinner and 100% of people have heard of Patrick Mahomes. Right? So tennis is a smaller market in the U.S. than NFL. So doubles will be a smaller market than singles. I'm okay with that. It's not something that I want to, like, settle on and accept, but, like, that's fine with me. But I think it can be, if it's 2% of singles right now, I think it can be 10% in 5 or 10 years if they do the right things.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think that, again, it comes back to joined up thinking, doesn't it? It comes back to us as television people getting Pavic in the studio, telling his story better. It comes back to us interviewing them more before they go out on court, getting good access. Like, I don't know, if they're on the court with the tours, can we do a way of, miking up the guys, talking to them mid-match. You don't have to give everything away. Same in F1 where you got it on delay, it's 5 seconds delay. You don't kind of know what, you can just block it. Okay, that wasn't good. You don't have to give massive. I still remember one of the great bit of telly for me was the Del Potro Nadal match at the US Open many, many moons ago. And after the first set, the Delpo won. I think it was Pam Shriver went up to Uncle Tony in the box and said, tough opening set, Rafa down a set, what's going on out here? And he just went, yeah, we're getting beaten badly by Delpo's forehand here. Like, we can't get it away from it. And and he's getting outmaneuvered and everything else. And it was like perfect because you could watch what happened after that, where Rafa solved the problem. And he ended up in that opening set trying to play, off the top of my head, 60, 70% forehands Rafa. The second set, he was at like 50-50. He stood in the middle and he beat Delpo with court positioning because his backhand's good enough to be able to and it was like, okay, well, we got told something there that maybe in commentary box you should pick up anyway, but it came from Uncle Tony. It was raw. It was authentic. It was like a little nugget. It didn't really give anything away. It didn't give anything away to Delpo's team. It was just like, that was the reality that Uncle Tony saw, and that's where I think, as doubles, but again, it comes back to how much of the tour is willing to invest in actually getting a production out of a doubles match where people like yourself and people can engage. And I think that's why I say one of my, the some of the thoughts that I have are thoughts, but unless we have a joined up collective approach to solving the problem, it will always remain where it is. And tennis, historically, even on the single side of things, has moved at a glacial pace. In doubles, it's going to move even slower. So we need to kind of figure out how we all can get together and make it happen. And that's all I really wanted to do with the tweet as we go back full circle. Like, I work in the other side of the industry. I see how little attention it gets. How do we make it better? And the starting point for me was, I think the product actually in match can be better, but I also appreciate outside of that, we all need to do collectively a better job of trying to push the sport.
Mark, I could sit here and talk to you for about 3 hours about this. This was a ton of fun. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. I know you gotta get to
hopefully if you guys and the guys in the doubles side of things can get the tours to kind of just implement some things or trial some things, I'd love to sit down, and I'll certainly be the first to give my feedback and see. I think again, finishing off at the same point, doubles is essential. I just want it to be the best that it can be.
100%. That's what we all want. Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Doubles Only podcast. If you're interested in diving deeper into any topics I discuss, I've created doubles strategy products that allow me to bring you more podcasts and other doubles content without relying on paid ads. I have ebooks and courses that help you make better strategic decisions during matches and become the smartest player on the court. Go to thetennistribe.com/products to learn more. You can also join my free weekly doubles strategy newsletter that includes video lessons and more on our homepage. If you want to connect, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or email me directly, will@thetennistribe.com.